My grandfather ruined my wedding before I ever reached the altar. I was standing behind the chapel doors in a white dress, holding my bouquet, listening to 200 guests go quiet. Then I heard his cane hit the floor. Once, twice, 3 times. And his voice, old but clear, cut through the church. If she marries that man today, she will be a widow by Christmas. My mother screamed. My fiancé laughed like he thought it was a joke. The pastor froze with the Bible open in his hands. And I stood behind those doors, humiliated, furious, certain my grandfather had finally lost his mind. He was 81. People had been whispering about his memory for months. My mother said he was confused. My aunt said he was dangerous. My fiancé said he was jealous because I was finally choosing my own life. So when security escorted him out of my wedding, I let them. I did not follow him. I did not ask why. I walked down the aisle. I almost married the man anyway. The only reason I didn't was because my grandfather turned around at the chapel doors, looked straight at me, and said one more sentence. Check the blue folder before you sign anything. Then he left. 3 weeks later, my grandfather was dead. And inside that blue folder was the reason he had been willing to let the whole family think he was crazy just to save my life. Welcome back to Valora Stories. My name is Claire Whitaker. I am 33 years old. And this is the story of how my grandfather stopped my wedding, destroyed my family's biggest lie, and exposed the man who was planning to inherit me before I was even gone. I grew up in a family where appearances mattered more than breathing. My mother, Diane Whitaker, believed a clean house could hide a dirty heart if the curtains were expensive enough. My father had died when I was 12, so Mom raised me and my older sister, Lauren, in a large house outside Charleston with white columns, polished silver, and enough silence to make every room feel supervised. Lauren was the beautiful one, the social one, the daughter who knew what to wear, what to say, when to laugh, and how to make my mother feel like her parenting had produced something worthy of display. I was the useful one. I made good grades. I remembered birthdays. I took care of problems. When my mother forgot to pay a bill, I handled it. When Lauren crashed her car at 22, I drove across town at midnight with insurance papers. When my grandmother got sick, I was the one who sat in the hospital while everyone else couldn't handle seeing her like that. But the person who really raised me was my grandfather, Elias Whitaker, former probate judge, widower, stubborn as iron. He lived 20 minutes away in a brick house full of law books, old clocks, and one blue leather chair nobody else was allowed to sit in. Every Sunday after church, I went to his house. He taught me how to make coffee so strong it could argue back. He taught me how to read contracts. He taught me that when people rushed you, it usually meant they were hiding something. And he taught me one sentence that I would not understand until the day my wedding fell apart. Claire, he used to say, tapping his finger on the table, never sign under pressure. Pressure is where predators live. I thought he meant legal documents. I did not know he meant people. I met Adrian Vale at a hospital fundraiser. He was 36, polished, charming, and impossible to ignore. Dark suit, perfect smile. A voice that made every sentence sound like it had been practiced in a room with soft lighting. He worked in private wealth management. That was what he called it. He helped high-net-worth families protect generational assets. My mother loved that phrase, generational assets. She repeated it 3 times the first night he came over for dinner, like she was tasting money in the words. Lauren loved him too, not in a romantic way. At least that was what I told myself. She liked his attention. Lauren liked any attention that entered a room wearing a watch worth more than most people's rent. Adrian knew how to flatter everyone. He told my mother her house had old Southern bones. He told Lauren her fashion nonprofit had national potential. And he told me I was different, grounded, serious, the kind of woman a man could build a real life with. I believed him. That is the embarrassing part. I was not stupid. I had a good job as a forensic accountant. I worked with numbers, patterns, fraud indicators. I noticed inconsistencies for a living. But when someone offers you the exact love you were starving for, you can confuse performance with proof. Adrian proposed after 11 months. My mother cried. Lauren posted the ring before I did. Grandfather said nothing. That was the first warning. At dinner the week after the engagement, Adrian raised a glass and gave a beautiful little speech about family. My mother dabbed her eyes. Lauren smiled. I looked at Grandpa. He was not smiling. He was watching Adrian's left hand, not his face, his hand. After dinner, Grandpa asked me to walk with him on the porch. He moved slowly by then. His knees hurt. His cane clicked against the wood. "Do you love him?" he asked. "Yes." "Does he love you?" I laughed. That is usually implied in an engagement. Grandpa did not laugh. "Does he love you when no one is watching?" The question irritated me. "Why are you doing this?" He looked toward the dining room window where Adrian was helping my mother with dishes he had not offered to wash. "Because charm is not character." I crossed my arms. "You barely know him." "I know enough to have questions." "What questions?" He looked at me for a long moment, then said, "The kind you only ask once before people start hiding the answers." I told myself he was being protective, old, suspicious. A retired judge who saw crimes in every handshake. 2 months before the wedding, things started changing. Small things. Adrian became very interested in my life insurance policy. Not directly. Never directly. He would say things like, "Couples should have everything in order." Or, "You work too hard. What happens to everything if something happens to you?" I had a life insurance policy through work. Nothing dramatic. Enough to protect a future family. Adrian said we should review it. I said after the wedding. He said, "Why wait?" My mother agreed. "Claire, he's being responsible." Lauren agreed too. "You're marrying a finance guy, let him handle finance." Grandpa did not agree. When I mentioned it to him, he put down his coffee. "Has he asked you to change beneficiaries?" "Not exactly." "That means yes." "Grandpa." He leaned forward. "Do not change anything before the wedding." I wasn't planning to. "And do not sign a prenup drafted by his lawyer without your own." I laughed again, but this time it sounded fake. "Adrian doesn't want a prenup." Grandpa looked at me. "That worries me more." 1 month before the wedding, my mother called me crying. She said Grandpa had accused Adrian of something terrible. I drove to her house and found Adrian sitting on the sofa, looking wounded in the most elegant way a man can look wounded. My mother was pacing. Lauren stood near the fireplace, arms crossed. "What happened?" I asked. Adrian sighed. "I went to see your grandfather." "Why?" "To ask for his blessing again. I thought maybe if we spoke privately, he would understand." My mother snapped, "And your grandfather insulted him." Adrian looked down. "He asked if I was marrying you for your money." I almost laughed. "My money?" I made a good living, but I was not rich. Not like Adrian's clients. Not like the families he worked with. Then Adrian said softly, "He also said he was having me investigated." The room went cold. "Investigated?" My mother turned on me. "Claire, this is humiliating." Lauren said, "He's getting worse." "You know he is." Adrian reached for my hand. "I don't want to come between you and your grandfather." That was exactly what someone says when they are already standing in the middle. I went to Grandpa that night. He was in his study. Blue folder on the desk. When I walked in, he closed it. That made me angrier. "Are you investigating my fiancé?" "Yes." At least he did not lie. "Why?" "Because he lied to you." "About what?" "His name, for one thing." I stared at him. "His name is Adrian Vale." "Now it is." "What does that mean?" Grandpa tapped the folder. "It means men who change names usually have reasons." I reached for the folder. He put his hand on it. "Not yet." "Not yet. You accuse the man I'm marrying, embarrass him, scare my mother, and now you won't even show me?" "I do not have enough." "Enough for what?" "To stop him cleanly." I shook my head. "You sound insane." His face changed. Just slightly, not anger, pain. But I was too angry to care. "I am getting married in 4 weeks," I said. "If you cannot support me, don't come." He looked at me for a long time, then nodded. "That may be the first thing you've said that proves I should." The week before the wedding, my mother told everyone Grandpa was declining. Memory issues, paranoia, confusion. She used soft words that sounded medical and kind. Concerned, fragile, not himself. People believed her because she said it gently. That was my mother's gift. She could ruin someone while sounding worried about them. Grandpa called me twice that week. I did not answer. He left one voicemail. His voice was rough. "Claire, listen to me. If you will not see me, at least do one thing. Do not sign the final beneficiary form. Do not sign anything Adrian gives you. And keep the blue folder if it comes to you. Promise me that much. I deleted the voicemail, not because I did not care, because I was tired. Tired of fear, tired of doubt, tired of everyone telling me what my life was supposed to mean. On the morning of my wedding, my mother was radiant. Not happy, radiant. There is a difference. Happy is soft, radiant wants witnesses. She moved around the bridal suite like a general in silk. Lauren adjusted my veil. You look expensive, she said. That was Lauren's version of sweet. Adrian sent me a gift, a diamond bracelet. Inside the box was a note. By tonight, everything begins. At the time, I thought it was romantic. Later, that sentence would make me sick. The ceremony was at St. Mark's Chapel. 200 guests, white flowers, string quartet. My mother had planned every inch of it. Adrian stood at the altar in a black tuxedo, looking calm, beautiful, mine. The chapel doors closed in front of me. I held my bouquet. The music shifted. Everyone stood. Then I heard the cane. Once, twice, 3 times. The sound echoed through the church. The music stumbled, stopped. Someone whispered. Then Grandpa's voice rose. If she marries that man today, she will be a widow by Christmas. The chapel went silent. My breath vanished. My mother screamed, Elias! Adrian laughed once. A hard, embarrassed laugh. Judge Whitaker, this is not the time. Grandpa pointed his cane at him. No, this is exactly the time. I could not see everything from behind the doors, but I could hear enough. My mother telling someone to call security. Lauren whispering, oh my God, he's lost it. Adrian saying, Claire, don't listen to him. Then Grandpa said, he is not marrying her. He is collecting her. That line cut through the room. I pushed the doors open. Everyone turned, 200 faces. My mother pale with fury. Adrian standing at the altar. Grandpa near the center aisle, shaking, but upright. I walked toward him, not down the aisle, toward him. Grandpa, I whispered, stop. His eyes found mine. For 1 second, he was not the man embarrassing me. He was the man who taught me how to read contracts at a kitchen table. His voice dropped. Check the blue folder before you sign anything. Security came. 2 men from the venue. They took his arms. He did not fight. He just looked at me. Before you sign anything, he repeated. Then they walked him out. The chapel doors closed behind him, and I stood there in my wedding dress, feeling every eye in the room on my skin. My mother rushed to me. Claire, sweetheart, he's sick. Lauren grabbed my hand. Don't let him ruin this. Adrian stepped down from the altar. He looked devastated, humiliated, perfect. I'm so sorry, he said. I tried to protect you from this. That should have been the moment I saw it. Protect me from what? The only person who had ever truly protected me had just been dragged out of my wedding. But I was embarrassed, and embarrassment is a dangerous emotion. It makes you choose the person who keeps the room comfortable over the person telling the truth. The pastor asked if we wanted to continue. My mother said yes before I could answer. Adrian took my hand. His palm was warm, too warm. I looked at him. I looked at the chapel doors. Then I remembered Grandpa's last sentence. Before you sign anything. The ceremony continued. I said the vows. Adrian said his. We exchanged rings. People clapped like they were relieved more than happy. But when the pastor said we would sign the marriage license after the ceremony in the side room, something in me tightened. Not fear, memory. Pressure is where predators live. At the reception, Adrian tried to guide me toward the signing table. My mother hovered. Lauren held a champagne glass. The photographer waited. Everyone smiled. I looked at the pen. Then I looked at Adrian. I need 10 minutes. His smile did not move. For what? Air. My mother's voice sharpened. Claire. I said 10 minutes. I walked out. Not dramatically. Not running. Just out. I went to the bridal suite, locked the door, and sat on the floor in my wedding dress. My hands shook so badly I could not open my phone. I called Grandpa. No answer. I called again. No answer. Then Aunt Ruth, Grandpa's younger sister, texted me. He is home. He is resting. He says, check the folder. I stared at the message. Then I did the one thing I should have done weeks earlier. I left my own reception, still in the dress, still wearing the bracelet Adrian had sent. I drove to Grandpa's house. Aunt Ruth opened the door. She did not look surprised. He said you'd come before signing. Where is he? Bedroom. Doctor gave him something to calm him. Is he okay? Aunt Ruth's face told me the answer before her mouth did. He's tired, Claire. On his desk was the blue folder, my name written across the front. Claire. My hands hovered over it. Aunt Ruth stood in the doorway. He told me not to explain. He said the papers should do it. I opened it. The first page was a marriage certificate. Not mine. Adrian's. Different name. Adrian Vale had been born Adam Voss. Married in Georgia, 12 years earlier. Widowed 8 months later. His wife, 29, died after a fall down the stairs. Life insurance payout, $1.2 million. My breath stopped. The second section was another marriage record, this time in North Carolina. Different spelling. Adam Vales. Wife died 14 months later. Car accident. Life insurance payout, $850,000. The third section was a civil lawsuit filed by the sister of the second wife, dismissed for lack of evidence. But in the complaint, one sentence was highlighted in yellow. He convinced her to change her beneficiary 6 weeks before she died. I sat down. The room tilted. The next pages were bank records. Not complete, but enough. Companies, transfers, aliases, then photos. Adrian meeting my mother at a cafe. Adrian and Lauren outside a hotel. Adrian's hand on Lauren's back. Close. Too close. The last section was about me. My life insurance policy, a beneficiary change form. Not signed yet, prepared, printed, with Adrian's name already typed into the box. Primary beneficiary, spouse. Except we were not legally married. Not until I signed. I pressed my hand against my mouth. At the back of the folder was a letter, Grandpa's handwriting. Claire, if you are reading this before signing, then I still have a little luck left. If you are reading this after, call Ruth and do exactly what she says. Adrian is not who he says he is. Your mother knew he had debts. Lauren knew he had a past. I do not yet know how much they know, but they know enough to have stayed quiet. I tried to prove it before today. I ran out of time. So I chose the only weapon left, shame. I am sorry I embarrassed you. I would rather have you hate me alive than forgive me dead. Do not sign anything. Do not go anywhere alone with him. And Claire, if love requires you to ignore evidence, it is not love. It is a trap. Grandpa, I read it twice. Then the doorbell rang. Aunt Ruth looked toward the hall. I heard Adrian's voice. Claire, I know you're here. My blood went cold. He had followed me. Aunt Ruth whispered, back door. But before I could move, Adrian was inside the house. He was still in his tuxedo. No smile now. No performance. Just a man whose schedule had been interrupted. There you are, he said. I held the folder against my chest. He saw it. His face changed. Not much. Enough. Claire, he said softly, you need to give me that. I stood. No. He stepped forward. Aunt Ruth moved between us. I would not, she said. Adrian looked at her like she was furniture. This is between me and my wife. She isn't your wife, Aunt Ruth said. That was the first time all day someone said the truth plainly. Adrian turned back to me. Claire, your grandfather is confused. You know this. I looked at the folder. Was your name Adam Voss? Silence. There it was. Not a confession. Worse. A calculation. Then he smiled. Small. Tired. You don't understand what you're reading. Did both your wives change their life insurance before they died? His eyes hardened. Give me the folder. Aunt Ruth had already called 911. I saw the phone in her hand. Adrian saw it too. He stepped back, smoothed his jacket. Then the mask returned. This is a mistake, he said. A very expensive one. He left before the police arrived. I did not go back to the reception. My mother called 31 times. Lauren called 12. Adrian sent one message. You embarrassed me today. We can fix this if you come home. Come home. Not I love you. Not are you safe. Come home. I sat beside Grandpa's bed that night. He woke up around 2 in the morning. His eyes opened slowly. I leaned forward. I read it. He tried to speak. I took his hand. I didn't sign. His eyes filled with tears. Just one, running sideways toward his ear. Good girl, he whispered. Those were the last words my grandfather ever said to me. He died 3 weeks later. A stroke. quiet, in his sleep. My mother came to the funeral wearing black lace and a face full of grief she had not earned. Adrian did not come. Lauren stood beside Mom and would not look at me. After the funeral, Aunt Ruth and I took the folder to the district attorney, then to the insurance fraud division, then to a detective named Mara Cole, who had been waiting years for someone to bring her the right paper. Adrian's past unraveled faster than anyone expected. 2 dead wives, 3 names, 4 insurance policies, 5 women he had dated in the last decade who had all been encouraged to get their affairs in order. He was arrested 4 months after my wedding, not for murder at first, fraud, identity falsification, insurance conspiracy. But once the first charge landed, people started talking. An old housekeeper, a former assistant, the sister who had filed the civil lawsuit years earlier. Then the second wife's autopsy was reopened, then the first. The man my family called a perfect match was sitting in jail by Christmas. My grandfather had said I would be a widow by Christmas. He was wrong by 1 signature. I never became a wife. My mother tried to say she had known nothing. Then the cafe photos came out. Then the emails. Adrian had promised her that after we married, he would help restructure her debt. Lauren had known about his first marriage. She claimed she thought it was too painful for him to discuss, but she had still helped him plan the reception seating, still stood beside me in the bridal suite, still told me not to let Grandpa ruin my day. I asked her once, months later, "Did you know he was dangerous?" She cried. "I didn't know he was that dangerous." That answer told me everything. My mother lost more than her reputation. She lost access. To me, to Grandpa's estate, to the family members who finally saw her clearly. Aunt Ruth became my emergency contact. Grandpa's house became mine. Not because of money, because in his will he wrote, "Claire knows the difference between a house and a hiding place." I moved into his house that spring. The blue folder sits in the top drawer of his old desk. I do not open it often. I do not need to. I know what is inside: evidence, fear, love, the kind of love that is willing to be misunderstood if that is the price of keeping you alive. Sometimes I think about the wedding, the flowers, the silence, the sound of his cane hitting the chapel floor. Once, twice, 3 times. For months, I remembered it as the sound of humiliation. Now I know what it was. A warning bell. My name is Claire Whitaker. My grandfather ruined my wedding. He let my mother call him unstable. He let my fiancé call him cruel. He let me hate him for 3 weeks. Because he knew something I did not. A ruined wedding can be survived. A signed death sentence cannot. Everyone thought my grandfather destroyed the happiest day of my life. The truth? He gave up the last peaceful day of his, so I could have the rest of mine. Would you have believed your grandfather that day? And what state are you watching from?